My entitled mother has hated me ever since I was born, all because I wasn't a girl, leaving me feeling incredibly alone for most of my life, leaving me feeling very frustrated and very bitter. And now that I've called her out in front of the entire family and basically treats my little sister better than I ever would be treated, I'm now being told that I'm the jerk and that I need to be more understanding about my mom's gender disappointment when it comes to me. Here's what happened. To start things off, my mom never wanted a boy. She always wanted girls. And apparently her dream was to have 4 daughters, but she had me first. I'm a 16-year-old male, and I have seen photos and videos of the day I was born, and she cried hysterically when they told her that I was a boy. Then she refused to hold me. After we were cleaned up, she cried about not using the name that she had chosen and said that she didn't know how to move on from it. And by the way, all of this was caught on camera. Eventually, my paternal grandmother took me, and she was the person to hold me in photos and videos taken during the rest of our hospital stay. Now, my paternal grandmother was my sole parental figure in the first 8 years of my life. She took care of me, and I spent so much time at her house, and sometimes I was there for weeks. But unfortunately, she then had a brain bleed and she passed away. So I was left with my mom, who wanted girls and not a boy, and a dad who wanted to be a provider and nothing more. My mom then had my sister, who we will call Lily, 2 years after me. So my mom got her girl and Lily got all of the attention. And even though I got my grandmother until I was 8 years old, after that I had nobody. My mom and Lily are super close, and mom adores Lily. She got the bigger bedroom, she gets the gifts, and she gets all her favorite snacks. She gets to do all the extracurricular activities that she could ever want to do, and her birthdays are huge parties with massive gifts. And when Christmas rolls around, she gets a minimum of 25 gifts from my mom alone, while my mom gets me like 1. And it's never anything that I would like or even want in the first place, but I guess it's the thought that counts, even though there was zero thought put into this. My mom's family don't act too interested in making up for her lack of parental love, and in the last couple of years, my mom and I have argued more, and I give her a hard time, and my dad's never around to give him one. But when it comes to my mom, well, if she wants to ignore me, then she can hear how awful it is. And if she wants to treat my sister like a perfect angel, then she can definitely hear about it. And my mom has even mentioned how I ruined her dream of having 4 daughters. We were at mom's parents' house Friday, and mom was gushing about Lily doing good on a project, as well as the scooter that she got Lily to help her get around easier. She even got Lily a custom helmet and even got a personalized lock for her scooter. She couldn't stop talking about it, and I told her she really does love to shower her favorite in gifts and praise. Well, my mom's family told me that I should take it easier on her and actually said that I should understand because we had some little troubles because of my mom's gender disappointment. But you know what? I told them that I don't owe her anything all because of her gender disappointment and that I didn't ask to be born to a mom who only wanted daughters. Well, they told me I lacked adult understanding and compassion, and I'm honestly just so done. So truly, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now I'm very frustrated and I seriously don't know what to do. No, you are definitely not the jerk. Your extended family and your mom are insane for trying to pin this on you. Why should you have to walk on eggshells all because your mom is disappointed that you're not a girl? Like, that is crazy in my opinion, and there's no good excuse for that. If they want to talk about the little troubles that they had, then let's talk about the first 8 years of your life. Your grandmother practically raised you, and even your own mother wouldn't hold you in the hospital. Like, seriously, what's going on right now? This behavior is so unacceptable, it's not even funny. So no, you're definitely not the jerk. You quite literally just want to be treated equally to your sister, and in fact, you just want parents that care about you, instead of dealing with this weird grudge that your mom has towards you just because you're a boy, because her behavior is completely irrational, and you do not deserve this in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My awful manager decided to fire me and replace me with some young college kid who definitely did not know what he was doing. So I decided to maliciously comply when they told me to take everything that was mine and walk out of the building. Because as a result, they literally had nothing left to run their business, as I was the sole owner of nearly all the equipment they used over the last 5 years. Here's what happened. So this happened a couple of years ago, but I was thinking about it recently. I work for a company doing their media design, namely graphic design, photography, live event AV, video editing, etc. This company held big events, and over my years at the company, I was given more and more unrelated responsibilities until I was doing the jobs of at least 4 people. They also never helped pay for any materials, so all of the necessary media equipment was paid for completely out of pocket. All of them had my name on them to make sure it wouldn't get lost if I lent it out. Over the years, years, I had accumulated a pretty impressive supply through secondhand purchases, while also watching for deals. By the time I hit my 5th year there, I had thousands of dollars in high-end equipment that was used for almost every part of the organization's promotion and event production. And I think at this point, you can probably see where this is going. One day, I was brought into my boss's office and told that they would be downsizing, and they had found someone fresh out of college with no real-life experience too, by the way, that will be taking over my jobs as well as a few others. And when I heard this, I was completely caught off guard. They then had one of the people from corporate follow me to my office to assist in cleaning out all of my stuff. He specifically said, "Take everything that is yours. You won't be coming back." So that's exactly what I did. They clearly expected the usual paper box full of some photos and a plant, but instead I had them hauling crate after crate of our media and our event supplies into my car. I had a 2004 Ford Explorer at the time, and by the time I left, it was filled up to the brim. With every box that we took out of my car, my boss began to get more and more panicked. At one time, he said, you can only take things that are yours. And through my sadness and anger, I was able to find it in me to kindly tell him that every single thing I was taking was mine and that I kept all receipts if he wanted proof. The final nail in the coffin was when I told him that I would need access to the arena's AV booth and I would need to get up to the catwalk. I still remember the fear in his eyes. We went and I unplugged all of my cameras that I had been lending to my events team, all of which were clearly marked with my name. I felt like the Grinch just walking around and taking all the random things in the building that had my name on them. Driving away, I was heartbroken that a company I had given 200% to in literally every way possible had picked someone younger and fresh out of college to replace me. But I won't lie, the smugness of watching their face as I stripped that place bare was completely and totally worth it. And looking back on it, that was the worst and most toxic job I've ever had. Now, the company only lasted another year before they folded entirely, and I'd like to believe that I had a hand in that. And to think that if they had just compensated me fairly and purchased the necessary things themselves, instead of forcing me to provide my team with things, they would not have had to start from scratch in the first place. Wow, the management at this team are absolute morons. Here they have a fantastic employee who clearly is good at their job and has been doing this for 5 years. And instead of rewarding them and being like, hey, here's a good promotion for you, or even giving them a proper budget so they can buy stuff for the organization, they instead replace them with someone who does not know what they're doing. Like full stop across the board, they have no idea what's going on. Like that, in my opinion, is so toxic it is not even funny. It's an awful precedent to set because the original poster sounds like they really enjoyed working there. They loved being an employee at this business and they really liked watching it shine. So for these people to come in and cut them loose like that, it really is unfair and they really did spell their own disaster. So good for the original poster for literally just getting their stuff and leaving, because it proved once and for all that you were the reason that they were staying afloat. Am I the jerk for telling my roommate that she is not allowed to leave her partner in the house unattended? Because right now, a majority of the house does not like the way things currently are. And at this point, we seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So me and my roommates moved into a 4-bedroom house 2 months ago. The 4 others lived together for 2 to 3 years, while I lived alone for that time. Their house was not rent controlled, and the landlord was going to double their rent. And I was tired of paying $2,400 per month as a graduate student. So we all decided to move into a 3-story, 4-bedroom house. We have known each other since the first year of university, and 2 of the girls, let's call them Rebecca and Danny, are long-term partners, so they share 1 room. About 3 months ago, before I lived with them, Macy, the 3rd girl, started dating a girl by the name of Carol. I found out from Rebecca and Danny that Macy had let Carol, whom Macy had known for maybe about 2 weeks, stay in their apartment alone for a few hours. And when Rebecca and Danny arrived at home, they found their door wide open. Macy also gave Carol the key code to enter their apartment. Since I moved in with them, Carol is often at our house, and it's starting to feel like we have a 6th roommate. Macy has let Carol cook in the kitchen, take Zoom calls in the dining room, and change into different outfits in the living room, all while Macy is somewhere else in the house. Yesterday, Macy let Carol stay at our house while Macy left for 4 hours. Rebecca, Danny, and myself felt uncomfortable with this, as Carol is basically a stranger to us. Carol stayed in Macy's room the majority of the time, but she did use our kitchen briefly. We told Macy that we were uncomfortable with this, but she told us we were being unreasonable. She said she pays for her room, so she should be able to use it however she wants, and that includes leaving a guest alone in her room while she is out of the house. Well, we told her that since the 3 of us, meaning the majority, are uncomfortable with guests being unattended in the house, that she is not allowed to leave Carol alone in her room, and that we would submit official complaints to the landlord if she does it again. Well, Macy is upset with us because she thinks we are being unreasonable, so her and Carol have left to stay at Carol's apartment for a few days. We think it's unfair to leave a stranger alone in our home. What if we had to leave the house while Carol was in our house without Macy? I have valuables and private items in my room that I don't want any guest to find, and Carol already has a history of snooping. It's also uncomfortable to have a guest using your kitchen as if it's theirs, or just coming home to what you believe is an empty house, only to find a surprise person alone in your house. The fifth roommate has also not been home to comment on this situation. So I turn to you, the internet, for any kind of answer. Am I the jerk for telling my roommate that she is not allowed to leave her partner in the house unattended? What should I do? No, I don't think you're a jerk in this situation. If I was in your shoes, I would feel the same way. You guys do not know this lady. She's not paying rent and she's not a roommate. But from the sounds of it, she basically might as well be. Like, I can understand the occasional visit or something like that, but what is currently being described, in my opinion, is just obnoxious. And for me, if there's gonna be a stranger in my house, she could easily rob you, and it kind of seems like she was already snooping at one point. So no, what you're asking is not unreasonable. I think your roommate is absolutely at fault, because the frequency that Carol's at your house alone with you and the rest of your roommates, all without Macy present, in my opinion, is highly inappropriate. Am I the jerk for asking my parents not to invite my brother to any family gatherings, as he constantly treats me like garbage regardless of what's going on? Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I'm a 26-year-old female, and I did not have a very happy childhood. It could be far worse, of course, but I had an absent father, an unavailable mother, and I dealt with some school bullying. So overall, it was quite typical. Now, my worst bully has always been my brother. He made a point of making me feel small, invisible, unloved, and incompetent for basically my whole life. He was always criticizing and mocking me without any reaction from my parents. I've had self-esteem issues for a while growing up, but I left home, started some therapy, and I got better, a lot better. On my healing journey, I realized that each time I had to see my brother, whether it was Christmas or something like that, it was still terrible. He never stopped the snide remarks, and I never stopped hurting. So I decided the best for my mental health would be to just go completely no contact with him. It took him and my parents 2 years to realize that, so you can tell it was already very low contact to begin with. Well, this is where the main issue comes in. My parents, including those of my partner, are divorced. I would like to still sometimes spend Christmas with them, basically one every 4 years for every parent if we want to be fair. However, I can't go if my brother is also invited because he will always RSVP super late or change his plans at the last minute. So I can't comfortably plan to go to my dad at a Christmas party if he declined to go, for example, because there is a good chance he would decide last minute to come. So I asked my mom and dad if they would be willing once every 4 years to not invite him so I get to spend time with either of them. Well, both of my parents are calling me a jerk and saying I'm selfish because they can't possibly not invite their son for Christmas. I told them, well, okay, fair enough, then I'll just plan every Christmas with my partner's family, although I am a bit sad and would like a chance to see my extended family, but they are still mad at me though, and want me just to come because my brother won't be there anyways according to them. Well, 2 years ago, I ended up coming to my mom's house, and he decided to come last minute, and I haven't spent Christmas with my dad in 4 years, hence why we're having this discussion in the first place. So am I the jerk for refusing to go if he's invited? Am I in the wrong for even asking my parents not to invite him once every 4 years? What should I do? No, I don't blame you for taking these steps. Your brother clearly has been a menace in your life for long enough, and you're tired of your mental health falling downhill all because of this guy. Like seriously, why should you have to go to another Christmas party just for him to show up at the last second and treat you like garbage? That definitely does not sound fair, and it's not something I would want to deal with, especially if I was in your shoes. So truly, I think you're doing the right thing by trying to mitigate this situation ahead of time, because the way your brother treats you is absolutely ridiculous. My boyfriend got extremely drunk at my friend's wedding, resulting in him literally embarrassing me and himself in the process. And now I'm considering breaking up with him altogether because this kind of behavior is something that I simply don't want to be around. Here's what happened. So I was a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding this past weekend. She had a very nice reception with an open bar. The bar was open all night, and we even had red and white wine on our tables. Well, my boyfriend, who drinks alcohol shamelessly like it's water, decided not to pace himself and ended up getting extremely drunk by the end of the night. He had several cocktails from the bar and kept pouring himself virtually all the wine from the bottle that was on our table. I was mostly trying to dance with the group on the dance floor and be a bridesmaid, but couldn't help but notice him come back with new drinks or empty the wine bottle on the table. At one point, I sat down and it was just me and him at the table, and he tried to ask me why I wasn't talking to him, why I was ignoring him all night, etc. And he grabbed my arm to try and get me to listen. And I was like, what are you doing? I am a bridesmaid after all. Anyways, he finally leaves in a drunken rage and then waits in his car because surprise, surprise, he can't drive. So then for about an hour and a half, he is texting me and telling me to come outside and talk to him about it. And I'm still helping my friend and trying to enjoy her night with her. So I tell him to Uber and go home, but he doesn't do it. As the night wraps up, I bring my clothing bag out to my car and I see this dude just walking around. He sees me, and when I'm heading back inside, he calls my name. Like, he is so drunk, it's embarrassing. He tries to have a conversation, but he is too wasted, and he tells me that he can't drive. So I tell him to wait in my car and I'll drive us together. 45 minutes later, I come back and my car door is open and he's passed out. He's thrown up and he's on the ground, and he threw up on his suit. I drove him home and I walked him to his door, which he could barely open, and I'm just so upset and embarrassed by him. So I told him that I don't want to be together after that stunt. So I really need to know, am I overreacting in this situation? Did I take things too far by saying that I don't want to be together? What should I do? No, I don't think you overreacted at all, because the way your boyfriend acted at this wedding was so irresponsible. Like, seriously, this guy's throwing back all the alcohol he can find around him, and then he gets upset because you're upset, but it's like, seriously, why would you not be upset? This behavior is awful. He can't do this. And he's also ignoring the fact that you have responsibilities at this wedding. You are a bridesmaid. You're supposed to help, like, get things together and keep it running. Like, being a bridesmaid really is a big deal, and you shouldn't have to babysit a grown man who literally can't handle himself. Like, this guy got so drunk he vomited all over his suit, and he was wandering around the parking lot like a lost dog. Like, this guy should not be around any alcohol within like 10 miles. So no, you did not overreact in this situation. If anything, you reacted perfectly. Like, literally, this is exactly the way you should have handled this. Because at the end of the day, his behavior was completely inappropriate, and you did not deserve to have to deal with that in the slightest. Am I the jerk for letting my flatmate's car get towed away after she literally blocked the entrance and exit to a car park? Because right now she is furious with me, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I'm currently staying with my family as we've had a bereavement and haven't been home for about 6 days. As far as I was aware, my flatmate wasn't going on any trips while I'm away. A couple days ago, I got a text message from my neighbor asking me to tell my flatmate to move her car as he couldn't get out of our building's car park for work. I told him that I wasn't home, and then I asked him what he meant, and he ended up FaceTiming me and showed me that my flatmate's car was in the space next to the entrance and exit and was sticking out so much that it blocked this entrance and exit more than halfway. Cars could not get in or out of the lot because of this, and her car isn't a small car by any means. It is literally an SUV. I texted her asking her to move her car, and she left me on red for hours. I texted her again during this time and was continuously left on red, and in the end, my neighbor had to get a ride just to go to work. Eventually, I got a reply from her. She said to me, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be out for a few days." And that was it. She didn't mention anything about her car or acknowledge my message about her car. So I told her she was obstructing the only way in or out of the car park, and I asked her if she could call her sister, who has a spare set of keys to her car, and ask if she could come over and move the car. I was left on red for a few more hours until she finally responded. She said to me, "Oh, she's sick, so she can't do it." And then she didn't respond to any of my following text messages, and I even sent a voicemail when I called. Well, yesterday the same neighbor called me and told me that he had called a tow truck because the car had not moved for days, and it was still obstructing the entrance and exit. And I was pretty pissed off with my flatmate and her lack of care for other people, and I told him to go ahead and let him tow the car. Well, this morning I got a bunch of angry text messages from my flatmate as she cursed me out, calling me every name under the sun. When she was dropped off this morning, my neighbor happened to be out front, and when she saw her car was gone, he explained the situation and that I had told him to go ahead with towing her car. I now feel bad because her car was her only way to get to work, but she was fine to let other people not be able to drive to their work for days. Our friends are saying that I could have come home early, picked up the spare keys from her sister, and moved it myself, but I can't leave my family during a really rough time. So honestly, am I the jerk for letting her car get towed? What should I do? No, you are not responsible at all. Anyone saying that you should have taken time out of your life to move her stupid car when she's the one who left it there on purpose in the first place is completely out of their minds. Like, seriously, your family's going through a rough time, and your roommate absolutely knew that she had her car parked incorrectly. She saw the text messages that basically said, "Hey, you're blocking the entrance. You can't have your car there. You've got to move." But still, she's the one that stuck around and didn't move the car. Like, how is that your fault? Like, at that point, this really is your flatmate's problem. They are the sole reason their car is getting towed. Because if they had been more responsible, they could have gotten somebody to come and take care of their car, but instead they were dismissive and said, oh, I'm gonna be out for a few days. And it's like, no, I'm sorry, that is not gonna cut it. You need to be a better car owner, and you need to be more responsible for those around you. So no, you're definitely not the jerk, because this is quite literally entirely your flatmate's problem. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.